Welcome to the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast with your host, hailing from Kokona, Wisconsin, riding a CST Tires SSI decals traveling back Yamaha YFC 450R, four-time ATV Motocross National Champion, number 25, Cody Jansen.
What's up, everybody? We're back. Welcome to the latest edition of the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast, episode 101 of the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast, presented by our title sponsor, CST Tires, in stock and available for purchase today at shop.csttires.com. I'm your host, Cody Jansen, saying hello to our more than 193,000 monthly Digging Deep listeners in all 100 countries in which you are listening, and this is our Brad Riley feature episode. Brad Riley is a tried and true jack of all trades. The former ATV motocross pro is better known as one of the most accomplished TT racers of all time. With 29 titles to his name, he's dominated this genre of the sport for well over a decade, and he is still arguably the fastest TT racer on the planet. From his full racing story that is very TT racing focused, to giving ATV motocross a try and being pretty damn good at it, dicing it up with Bryce Ford at the Heuvos Pro Invitational a couple months back, and more, we get into a little bit of everything with Brad Riley in the episode ahead right here on the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast. With that, let's quickly shout out all of our incredible partners who are back with us for yet another exciting season here at Digging Deep. CST Tires, go to shop.csttires.com today. Yamaha, thanks to Blue Crew. Thanks to SSI Decals, DID Racing Chain, Namura Technologies, Bronco ATV and UTV Components, Impact Solutions, Lonaville Steel Enterprises and Concrete Supply, the financial advice of the Haymauer Financial Group, Forworks Carbon, DP Brakes, Factory 43, Binky's Forever ATC Museum, Evans Waterless Power Sports, Coolant, Walsh Racecraft, and Manscaped. Get 20% off and free shipping with code DiggingDeep20 at manscaped.com. Manscaped's signature line, the Performance Package 4.0, includes the new Lawnmower 4.0 electric trimmer that I rely on to help keep my beard on point, the best nose hair trimmer ever created, and an array of goodies like deodorant, boxer briefs, a travel bag, and more. So check out Manscaped. I wish I would have sooner. And get 20% off with free shipping by using code DiggingDeep20 at manscaped.com. So rad, I say it every week, so rad that Manscaped is investing in ATV racing as a longtime partner of Digging Deep. Help us keep them in the fold and involved in ATV racing by using our Digging Deep 20 code so they know you enjoy Digging Deep and what we're all about here. Support all these great companies that support us, and for any products that fall through the cracks, you know what to do. Click that Rocky Mountain ATVMC banner on our website to help us out. The 2022 season will be here before we know it, and we both know you still need parts and gear. No matter what off-road gear parts you need, Rocky Mountain ATVMC has you covered. But before you buy, simply click that Rocky Mountain ATVMC banner on our website. By using our specific link, we get a percentage of what you buy on the back end, enabling you to help us out while purchasing the parts you need anyway. And did you know you can buy OEM parts from Rocky Mountain ATVMC as well? Yep, shipped conveniently right to your door. So click that Rocky Mountain ATVMC banner at diggingdeepatvmx.com to help us out while satisfying all your gear and parts needs. No new donors to shout out this week, but if you are interested in donating and hearing your name right here on the show, you can find the Patreon or Buy Me a Coffee donation links on our website. Major thanks to all who have donated, and if you can't donate but you want to help us out, you can rate and leave us a review on iTunes and Spotify. That helps us out in a major way, boosting the algorithm and hopefully getting Digging Deep out in front of more and more potential listeners. So that's another easy way to help support us. Now, it's showtime. The 30-second board is up, it's sideways, and the gate is down. Time to dig deep. Let's go. All right, guys, back here for yet another episode of the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast, our 101st episode now, and we're kicking off the new year with a guy who's been on my guest list for a long time. Brought to you by our friends at Blenders Eyewear. Use discount code DiggingDeep20 at checkout for 20% off of your order at blenderseyewear.com. Blenders Eyewear is, of course, the sunglasses choice of the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast. The Sugar Mac model has been seemingly my pair of choice for a while now. Find your favorite at blenderseyewear.com today and use discount code DiggingDeep20 for 20% off. Tonight, Blenders Eyewear presents the fastest TT racer on the planet, one of the fastest racers in his discipline of all time. Say hello to multi-time Extreme Dirt Track Pro Champion, Mr. Brad Riley. What's up, buddy? Welcome to Digging Deep. Thanks so much for being here, pal.
Thanks for having me, man. It's an honor.
It's an honor for me. Like I said, I've wanted to get you on here for a while now because you and I go back a number of years, really. We raced pro and pro-am together at the ATV Nationals, ATV Motocross Nationals. As you may or may not know, TT racing was a first love of mine. So I have a major soft spot for flat track and TT. And I just knew that, between the two of us, we could just about talk, anything under the sun, ATV racing related. So again, I said it to you already a few times, but I really appreciate you being here. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Oh yeah. Thanks for having me. It's going to be fun.
So multi-time EDT series pro champion, right, Brad? I believe it must be 5 or 6 times, right? So fill me in on that a little bit. How many times?
It's a few more than that. Depends on if you're counting pro and pro-am.
Okay. Well, fill me in.
I think right now we got pro championships alone. We got 9 championships in the pro class alone. And, counting the pro-am classes, which we run, we try to run as many classes as we can because we all like to be on the track as much as we can. We pretty much, it's basically the pro class. We just get to ride it 3 different times.
Of course, yeah.
And between the 2 to 3 classes that I've run over the years, I've got 29 championships.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
I got 11 in the AMA, and then in the Northeast Extreme Dirt Track Series we run now, which is the premier TT racing series. I got 18 in there.
18-ish. Yeah, that's crazy, man. And a lot of them have been consecutive, right? I mean, at least in recent years, it seems like there's a bunch in a row now that you've racked up. So that's impressive in its own right as well.
Yeah, we've had several. We've had several in a row. We've the first year whenever the Northeast Extreme Dirt Track Series kind of got big, we run the AMA and the Northeast Extreme Dirt Track, and I think it was 2014, and I won everything that year in both classes, and that next year I was so burned out on racing. I think I was dabbling in some motocross stuff too, and
sure,
I didn't run the Northeast Extreme Dirt Track in that next year, I think it was. Okay. And kind of took a year off that, just run the AMA, and the AMA 15 was the last year they run the AMA.
Got it. Yeah. So we'll get into your story a little bit, but it is your advantage, Brad, that, where you're at down there in North Carolina, that's kind of the hotbed for TT, it seems nowadays. Right. And that's advantage you because, you're in an area, at least where there's a lot of TT racing going on. That's not necessarily the case in some sections of the country.
Yeah, I feel like we definitely got we're blessed with the tracks around here. We got several different venues right here in North Carolina, different tracks that are really good and top notch national caliber tracks. And it's really nice. Our local series is really good. We got some of the best tracks in the whole US. So we've run dabbled in some other series, and it's we by far got the best tracks around.
Yeah, for sure. And it's fun to see how TT has been, flat track and TT has seemingly been rejuvenated a little bit, because it got a little sketchy there, a number of years ago. Maybe it's been a decade now, but I'm glad to see that things have kind of come full circle. So we'll get into more of your story. We'll get into, the state of TT racing and stuff as we go here. But I'm going to hit you with something special right away here, buddy, because this morning I was chatting with a man that I've always considered to be the best TT racer ever, none other than Shane Hitt, who, by the way, was interested in purchasing some of our Fire Legends Never Die tees available at shop.diggingdeepatvmx.com. And I told him that you were joining me on the show here this week. And this is what he said to me. And I quote, "I met Brad when he first started racing. He was young, but you could tell right away he was going to be good. Well, he turned out to be great. He's definitely one of the best ever. I'd say he's better than even I was. What I really love about Brad is he can ride anything, and he's not afraid to show up and line up with the best guys on any track, MX, cross country, or TT. I can't really say enough good things about him. He's just a great guy, and he's good for the sport. So after hearing that, Brad, from arguably the most prolific TT racer ever, what does that mean to you?
It means a lot. That's really cool to hear that. That's pretty cool. He's one of the guys I looked up to. Getting into racing, it was Shane Hitt he was the man to beat on TT. I mean, he was pretty tough. And then you had Tim Farr, but I always liked him. I liked his attitude at the track, and me and him we got kind of the same attitude whenever we get to the track. Some people like us, some people hate us, but we show up to do a job, and that's what we go out there to do.
Yeah, I love that. And that's kind of the cool part to me, and why I wanted to kind of, let you tell your story here on the show is you're kind of that old mold, where, in the Shane Hitt era, you had to be, to be, at the top level, you had to be a good TT rider and a good moto rider. And that's what you are, just, you're 20 years later, whatever the number is, 25 years later. So I was going to ask you, as we kind of get into your story, who, you looked up to, modeled yourself after, who were kind of the guys you looked up to growing up, and you kind of already filled us in. It's the Tim Farrs, the Shane Hitts, those types of guys.
Yeah, I think it had to be Shane Hitt, Tim Farr, probably the top two, and then probably Natali. I remember him coming we used to have a race in Williamston, I think it was.
Okay.
He showed up, and I was like, who's this guy? And he went out there and he just kicked everybody's tail. And it was my early years. I think I was 16 or something. And then I started kind of following him. He was a bad dude on motocross too, but it was kind of them three that I looked up to and look forward to being like them later on, and them were the three there.
Yeah, that's awesome. So as we get into your story, Brad, like Shane said, you weren't afraid to line up with line up against anybody, anytime, so to speak. So last we saw you, we'll get into this, I guess, before we start telling your story, but the last we saw you, you were lining up with the fastest moto guys around at the Heuvos Pro Invitational. So tell me, how the experience was at that event. I don't know if you heard it or not, but Bryce Ford told us on our race review show that you gave him all he could handle, and that people were telling him ahead of time, that Brad isn't gonna let up, isn't gonna give you an inch. So tell me about that experience and that event a little bit.
It was a blast, man. I'd like to give Wes a shout out there, because he did a heck of a job with the situation he had. He really turned it around and made it happen. And I think a lot of people was worried, but he pulled through. But yeah, it was really cool event. I was honored to be able to come to it. I was at DASA's one day, and David Eller, he was there, and he was talking about going, and we was sitting there talking about it, and he kind of offered if you want to go, because we was thinking about going out there, flying out there. We go to Vegas once a year or so, and
sure,
we was thinking about going out and checking it out and just watching. And he's like, hey, if you want to throw a bike in there, you're more than welcome to. And I'm like, why wouldn't I? Like, I mean, right. I got to at that point, and we was kind of debating on what bike to take. And because he kind of, the way he talked at first, I was going to be able to take my Yamaha. And it was kind of, I think the week of, he posted some videos, and I was like, no, there ain't no way. That track looks gnarly. I got to take the Honda, the motocross bike. And
right.
So, and then we ended up racing at a different event. And but it was really awesome. It was cool to be a part of, and it was really interesting, and getting to race against them guys. I think I'm about to be 37 here. I mean, I ain't got but about, I don't know, 15 more years left of racing, maybe. But no, I'm just kidding. But it was just cool to line up with them guys and get out there. And I remember it was kind of funny. We get up there, and everybody's like, I remember Joel's like, you go first. He was nobody wanted to jump up there and go first. So I was like, I cranked my bike up, and I went down there and got up against the log. I was like, heck with it, I'll go first. I'll be the first one to make myself look stupid.
Somebody's got to do it.
I ended up going through it pretty good, and then I come around the next lap, and people was having some issues. It was pretty cool event. I enjoyed that a lot. I hope we get to do it again. I I'd like to be a part of it again. But yeah, I was out there just having a good time. Even in qualifying, there was one jump I could have went a little faster. I was out there playing around. I mean, I was going fast, but there was this one jump I threw a heel clicker in the qualifying session, and just out there having a good time. And I knew whenever I qualified, I was like, I messed up here and there. I could probably get about a second and a half or so quicker. But after qualifying, I was like, dude, I got a shot at this. It's anybody's game with the way it was. And
oh yeah,
it was really fun. We come out there, and I think Bryce and I was up against him, and or Bryce.
Mm-hmm.
I was up against him, and I went out there and I watched him in the practice and stuff. I remember him, and I don't know that I've seen him go through the tires section and keep his feet on the foot pegs the whole time. So I was getting up there. I was like, I felt pretty good about it, and we took off, and he had the faster lane, and I come out and I was right on his tail, and we went into, I think it was the third corner or so, and I ended up getting around him or getting in front of him, but coming out of the corner, I don't know if I got antsy or what, or I missed a gear, and he went flying back by me, and then I just took. It was so cold out there, and it was freaking, the roofs was terrible. I had just that one race we raced, I couldn't imagine doing a whole moto behind somebody, but I got behind him and I was getting blistered. I had bloody lips and whelps all over me. It looked like I played paintball after I was done. It was pretty bad, the roost was. And but I was like, I got to stay close to him, because I get the faster lane whenever we get back to the basically the option lanes, and I get to go through the faster ones. So if I stay close to him, I'll be good. But I just kept on taking that roost, and I kind of dropped back just a touch, and then I made one mistake, and it was too far. Once we got to there again, he was out of reach, and he rode good, but I had a chance, and I blew it, and then we ended up leaving because it was so cold out there, and we didn't have enough clothes.
Okay.
And we ended up leaving, and come to find out, he ended up I was like, who won? They was like, Bryce won. I was like, oh, I knew it was anybody's game. I knew anybody could win, and it was kind of cool that I got eliminated first round, but I was like, at least the guy he eliminated me was the guy that won it. So it was kind of cool.
Right, exactly.
I know Joel made a bad mistake, but that's kind of what threw a curveball and everything, and made it where it was anybody's game.
Yeah, a little bit of everything there at that race. And the cool part, like, you added a really cool dimension to it, because, obviously we know Wes kind of wanted to have a little bit of everything for that event as far as racers go and backgrounds and stuff like that. But then, you being a part of it, to have moto guys, GNCC guys, works guys, and then to have a TT guy, I just thought that, that makes the event that much cooler. And then, like you said, it was anybody's game. Not only do you have tons of experience, you've raced every kind of racing that there is, basically, you're a jack of all trades. So that makes you super good at that event. But yeah, like, I hope that that's something that he's going to hopefully do going forward. He's talking about possibly pulling it together. I know I saw him, kind of questioning, like, if people want to see another one. Obviously we all do.
Everybody does, I believe. It was cool. It was just fun to be a part of a non-points thing, and get out of town and go out there. You can kind of have a vacation out of it, and make it fun. Get out there and race a little bit. And I remember calling Wes that whenever we first talked, and he was like, "You're a TT guy. This ain't really TT." I was like, "Man, I race a little bit of everything. I think I'll be good." He's like, "Oh man, well, I want you to come. It's going to be cool." And he kind of told me how the track was going to be, and I was kind of pumped up. I was like, you don't really, none of us, I don't think anybody knew what to expect coming in. It was just, and we all get there, and it was like, you see these big old tires, and you don't know how the bike's going to react, and you just basically close your eyes and go for it.
Yeah. So what an awesome event that he put together. Only he could pull off something like that, especially with the circumstances that were dealt there. And he kind of told us that story that you hit him up, and he's like, "Well, this is, you're a TT guy," kind of thing. And I said the same thing. I told him, I'm like, "Man, Brad can do anything." So talk about this part of this whole story then that we haven't touched on. Talk about having a quad to even ride. because, as we discussed on that episode, the story goes that your machine was spared because the tether cord wasn't in. Is that right? And then because therefore, like you still had a quad to ride, that one, your quad was left behind while Joel Hetrick and Grayson Eller's quads were stolen. So talk about that bullet dodged. Oh my God.
It was whenever I first seen somebody sent me, I guess it was a screenshot, and it was like, your bike gets stolen. And I'm like, I just kind of like, I was like, I don't know. I was like, I hope not. I was like, I'll find out here in a minute. I got off the phone and I called David, and he was like, yours is fine. It's sitting here. You're on a Honda. Nobody wants that thing. And, no, he was like, oh, it's they pushed yours out of the way, moved it out of the way, and I guess they couldn't get it cranked, and they moved on to the next two. So luckily, I mean, unluckily for them, but I mean, it worked out on my part. That I hate it for anybody involved, but they pushed mine to the side and got to the next one. And afterwards, whenever I got there, I was like, it'd be nice to have my Yamaha, and then I started thinking, I was like, well, if I had my Yamaha on the trailer, it'd be gone now.
It'd be gone. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so I saw, like I saw those same pictures just as everybody else did. And at first, I truly thought it seemed like some kind of inside job or something, not to start any conspiracy theories here, but seeing the Honda just sit there while the Yamahas were gone, I'm like, okay, they knew what they were taking. Well, then I hear, I think Casey's the one that told us that you didn't have the tether in, or somebody didn't have the tether in on that quad, and that's why it didn't start. And I mean, like you said, what a blessing, because, riding the Honda at that event instead of the Yamaha, I would much rather have the Honda to ride than no quad at all.
Yeah, it was definitely a bad situation, and I hate it happened. I would have sacrificed mine for Joel's, but because they don't even know what they got there. His bike's worth a lot more than mine, and sentimental and valuable. But it really sucks all around, and I hate that it happened. It's hard to believe what they did to get it, but it's people will do what they can to steal stuff once they.
I know, dude. I couldn't believe it, from, the truck getting ripped out of the way to, like I said, leaving your quad there, taking those things. It's just hard to even fathom that happened. So obviously an obvious shame there. We'll get right back to the show, but now a word from our sponsors. And thank you for listening to these ads. Without these great companies, none of this would be possible. Show your support for the people who support us. We used to speak of a CST takeover, but now 2022 is the year of CST supremacy. CST's Pulse MXR tires are the choice of Joel Hetrick, Jeffrey Rastrelli, and Nick Janusa, meaning CST tire riders are in contention for pro class wins and a possible podium sweep every time they hit the racetrack. CST tires are also the official tire choice of the Digging Deep ATVMX podcast, but you already knew that. I, your host Cody Jansen, helped pioneer the CST takeover with Pulse MXR fronts and white label soft compound rears on my way to back-to-back national championships and a pro sport podium to cap off the 2021 season. The Pulse MXR tire, available in soft and standard compounds, offer the highest level of traction, most predictable cornering, and superior wear characteristics when compared to the competition. Did I mention they offer contingency payouts as well? Visit shop.CST Tires to join the CST takeover today, or prepare to be beat by someone who did. Joel Hetrick, Jeffrey Rastrelli, Nick Janusa, myself, and so many more believe and trust in CST Tires. Do you? You already know we're Team Blue Crew now more than ever here at the Digging Deep ATVMX podcast. And whether it's 8-time and reigning ATVMX Pro Class National Champion Chad Wienen, who with his next championship will become the winningest champion in ATV motocross history, or 7-time and current XC1 Pro ATV GNCC National Champion Walker Fowler, who is now tied for second all-time in titles won, it's clear the podium-proven Yamaha YFZ 450R is the winning choice of sport ATVs. This continued and unprecedented success for the Yamaha YFZ 450R, its unrivaled quality and performance, and the undisputable fact that Yamaha is the leading OEM supporter of ATV racing has resulted in an ever-growing Yamaha takeover within the sport quad market. Best yet, Yamaha's Blue Crew Racer Support Program is back and stronger than ever here in 2022, meaning Yamaha riders will once again cash in on payouts and prize opportunities, including a chance to win a brand new YFZ 450R. For more info, head over to YamahaBlueCrew.com. Follow them at Yamaha Outdoors on social media and check out Yamaha's full proven off-road lineup at YamahaOutdoors.com today. SSI Decals is a name synonymous with ATV racing, synonymous with big-time success, and absolutely synonymous with the best-looking decals around. An offshoot of their parent company that was established in 1947, SSI first took shape from owner Ian Harris's passion for ATVs. With what started as just making numbers and decals for riders like Chad Wienen, the company quickly took off, and today you couldn't imagine ATV motocross without SSI decals. The graphics maker and designer now supports all the top teams in ATV motocross, as well as teams and riders racing GNCC, Work Series, Pro Motocross and Supercross, Canadian Pro Motocross, short course off-road trucks, UTVs, snowcross, and, oh yeah, 6-time world champion top fuel drag racer Clay Milligan. No project is too big or too small for SSI decals, making your identity stick with championship level graphics. Head over to SSIDecals.com today and then maybe call the doctor because things are about to get sick. The Digging Deep ATVMX podcast is brought to you in part by DID and their wide range of championship winning chains. From the street to the track and everywhere in between, DID chains are designed to give you the optimal riding experience with great performance and increased chain life. Consistent to the core, pick up your box of reliability today. DID, what drives you?
We are proud to be partnered with Namura Technologies. Since 2001, Namura has led the charge in the ATV and side-by-side market, covering more applications than anyone else in the industry. Namura's advanced piston technology uses a NASA-exclusive aluminum alloy that helps to reduce expansion rates, allows for tighter tolerances, and leads to higher overall engine performance for your machine. For more information about Namura's wide offerings of pistons, rings, gaskets, industry-leading top-end repair kits, and recently added connecting rods, visit your local dealer or online at www.namura.com. Namura Technologies, your one-stop shop engine component supplier. We are pleased to be partnered with Bronco ATV and UTV Components. Bronco has been an industry leader in replacement hard parts and accessories for all makes and models for over 15 years. With a catalog that includes a full line of electrical components, engine internals and cylinders, shock and suspension parts, winches, clutch kits, valves, carb kits, bearing kits, and drive chain parts, Bronco is your hard part source for whatever you need for whatever you ride. Available exclusively through distributors around the world, visit your local dealer or online at broncoatv.com.
Forworks Carbon's innovative lightweight products include top-notch seat covers, carbon fiber and plastic hoods, gas tank covers, exhaust shields, shock guards, and much more. Whether you have an ATV, UTV, or snowmobile, Forworks has the goodies that will improve your ride and make you salivate. We trust Forworks for increased function and a sexier look, and you should too. Forworks Carbon, always working hard to bring high quality and innovative parts to the market. Check them out today at fwcarbon.com.
So, Brad, let's start to tell your story. We got into some of that the more recent stuff already, but let's get into your story. So why don't we take it back to the very beginning? How did you first get into riding and eventually racing? Tell me about that.
I think I was 14 years old whenever I first got a four-wheeler. My buddies all got four-wheelers for Christmas, and I hounded my dad for I was wanting a four-wheeler, and the hot thing then, I was small, and the hot thing then was the Yamaha Blaster.
Oh, the Blaster. We all had a Blaster.
Everybody had to, and I feel like once I got mine, there was another buddy that had mine. We had a good little Blaster gang there. There was about 6 or 8 of us, all had Blasters.
Nice.
None of us had brakes and stuff. You know, they first come out with the drum brakes and the
terrible
brakes.
Terrible.
They were so bad. So some of the guys they updated and put like hydraulic stuff and stuff. I just geared down and let it fly. You know, drop 2 gears and pull in the clutch and dump it, going through the woods. And then I think it was a year and a half or 2. We rode through the woods with all our buddies, and we I think it was a year. We rode around, and I could have been 13 when I got that thing. I really don't remember.
Okay.
We went down to Black Ankle, was where one of our national tracks are now. And I went down there and watched it, and I was like, man, this is cool. I'd like to try that. And they had a Blaster class, and I think it was so big then that they had a Blaster A and a Blaster B.
Yeah.
So just to split everybody up. And I was like, I want to do that. I want to get me some, I just want to go out there. We went up, we ended up, we planned it a week ahead of time or so. And we went down there, me and a buddy of mine that good friend of mine at the time, we went down there and we raced, and my buddy ended up, this is my very first race ever. He ended up, a guy come across the track. They we raced together and hit each other head on. He broke like 20 some bones in his face. Like,
oh my gosh.
Very first race ever. And everybody's like, he about died, and he was lucky to live, and he was really lucky. And everybody was like, oh, you don't need to be doing that. But I was already hooked from there, and it really sucked that happened. And that was my first race. And we ended up getting some wheels and tires later, a lowering kit, had a homemade lowering kit, of course. Couldn't afford, we ended up getting out there and racing against the Blaster A class. And them guys had all decked out stuff, hydraulic brakes, and I still barely had brakes.
Yeah. So what year would that have been, Brad? That had to be early 2000s.
I would say 2000 maybe.
Yeah, that's about what I was thinking.
Right.
I knew it had to be early 2000s because I remember myself racing the Blaster class at the AMA series, probably 04, 05. I remember going to Paducah. I remember going to Orville, Ohio, some of those races. And even then, man, those Blaster classes were so big. There was multiple qualifiers. Like I was like a decent rider or whatever, but I was like struggling to make it into the main at times, you know? So those classes were crazy back then, and just so much fun. Like you think back to that era and, you know, being a kid or whatever, and it just feels like the biggest thing ever and all this pressure and whatever. And then you think back on it now and it's like, man, if I could just go back and live those, you know, those raw, fun emotions all over again, man, it doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah, it was a really cool time. I think the school I went to, there was about, I think at one time there was 5 or 6 of us that all went to school together. We all went and raced on the weekends together. So we talked crap all week and just kind of joked around and just everybody talked a little junk all week, and then come to race weekend, we go out there and we have a good time, and we go home and talk crap again. So it was a really good time. But after the Blaster, this guy, I started racing a Yamaha Banshee, set up for TT, and that thing was wicked fast, and it was a lot of fun. And then I stepped up to the Pro-Am class, and I think I was 15.
Okay.
And then I wasn't supposed to be out there, but
right. Yeah. It's funny how many of these stories we've told on this show here where, you know, guys are like, man, I wasn't quite old enough, but I could tell that I can say it now. But before you go any farther, Brad, so TT was the interest from the very beginning though, from day one, TT was the thing.
That's the only thing I've ever seen at that point. And I didn't know anything about the motocross. I think it was several years after that I even seen any motocross.
Okay.
And I really liked the motocross. I think it was 2000, maybe 2010 or 12, somewhere in that area is the first time I ever rode motocross on a four-wheeler.
Okay. Well, we'll get into that, but I did want to ask you, like I said, I had on my sheet here, you know, how it starts with TT, because that's, you know, everybody's got, you know, the story of where they started and how they just found themselves in whatever discipline that they're in. And I didn't know for you if it started with TT or vice versa. So it starts with TT from day one. And so you haven't even been racing TT that much before you're in the Pro and Pro-Am classes to pick up where your story left off.
Yeah, it was about a year or so before that guy let me ride his Banshee, and we ended up getting it from him. And it was, like I said, we did pretty good with it. And and I don't know, I was hooked I liked the TT a lot. And it really, at that point, like I said, I didn't know nothing no different than anything else. So we was just getting out there racing and competing, and that bar to bar, tire to tire action was really good. And TT, we can run a little closer and tighter than like the motocross. You got to kind of give each other a little bit more more room on the motocross. You can't run as close, but it's just fun, close, tight racing. And I really, really enjoyed it. And I was hooked on it.
Oh, it's such an art to flat track and TT. It's like a dance kind of thing. And even, over prepping for this, but over the course of the last year or two or three or whatever, man, I'd love watching the videos of you guys. There's helmet cams of you guys out there, guys racing around you, and just watching some of the tracks that you guys race on are badass. And then just watching the quality and the level of the classes and the racers and the riders that you and the rest of you guys, the pros there, are racing against, man. It's so much fun to watch. I will always have love for TT. But on the moto side, Brad, so you first show up at the national scene in 2009. So you first show up in 2009 at Birch Creek, where you finished second in 16 to 24. You finished second to Matt Porter, and you finished seventh in production A. So how did you get into motocross? So we might have not had the dates exactly right, but how did you first get into motocross? Because you show up at the national scene in 2009, and shoot, you're already racing, some of the fastest amateur classes out there. So tell me about that and what you remember about that time period.
I really don't remember that coming there that year.
Okay.
I've done a lot of racing over the years.
Of course,
it's been so many. I actually, whenever we spoke, I had to go back on my Facebook and scroll for a long time. My finger was getting tired because I just had to like put some dates to stuff, and I was just like, I was looking at old pictures and stuff, and was like, dang, that's pretty cool that it's still there. Like I didn't even remember half this stuff. You just they run together. All these races run together, and it's hard to keep up with it. But
so even overall, Brad, though, like, at what point, so you must see motocross for the first time, and then did you make a conscious, decision to be like, hey, like, that looks like fun, or I might be pretty good at that? So, you're obviously good. You were a good TT racer already. You were a good TT racer from day one, it sounds like. But what was your first experiences or dabbling in motocross like? Do you remember that?
Yeah, I went to a local track, NCMP. They had a race there, and a buddy of mine, he had a bone stock Suzuki.
Okay.
And he was, and that's the only thing I rode it, and it was bone stock, and all these guys had their stuff set up, which a Suzuki is not a bad bike, bone stock. And then I went out there and I signed up for the A class or double A class or whatever, and I went out there and actually won it. And out there, just, I don't know, it was pretty fun. I had a blast on it, and I was like, man, this is cool. And then me and Chucky, we raced a long time together in the TT. We
Chucky Creech for the listeners.
We started we kind of dabbled in some motocross here and there together, and kind of just started hitting some up just to play around with it. And
okay,
I guess I showed up to Birch Creek one. I really don't remember that year. I remember coming like 2012 or 11 or something. I remember coming in running Pro-Am for the first time, but
you're exactly right. So we wouldn't really see you. So other than that outlier Birch Creek 2009 thing where you got second in 16 to 24, and 16 to 24 has always been fast. It was really fast during that kind of period of time there. But we wouldn't see you again back at the ATV Motocross Nationals until 2012, like you said, when you flashed in a major way by then. So 3 years later, you flashed in a major way with a Moto1 win in Pro-Am Unlimited at Budds Creek, as well as a third in Moto1 at Muddy Creek. And fun fact, I said that you and I go back a long time with some of our racing stuff. You and I raced each other. I won that heat that day in Pro-Am Unlimited. And you got third in that one at Muddy Creek in 2012. So yes, you kind of didn't show up in a real way until 2012 after 2009 there. But you're already making waves, winning motos in that super stacked Pro-Am Unlimited class. So then you're full swing motocross guy by then, Brett.
Oh, I was hooked. It was a lot of fun. We was racing some local stuff then, and I'm sure you remember was going to NCMP and some other places. I'm sure you remember Cole Henry.
I do. Yeah. Super good rider.
Yeah. And we was running, we kind of met him and his family, and he was pretty fast. And I started out, and I was several seconds behind him. The next race we went to, I closed that gap. The next race we went to local, I started beating him some, and then they was like, oh, well, he's racing pro-am class and winning motos and stuff. And I was like, shoot, maybe I should go try that. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I ain't never, I thought, I was like, it's been a while. I hadn't really tried it much other than the locals, and I guess that Birch Creek time. But I was like, well, I'll go to, I think we went to a local race at Muddy Creek a few weeks before that national.
Okay.
And we come out there, and I ended up in that pro-am. I think there was 2 different motos that it was a lot of people. It was stacked.
It was 2 heats. Yeah, it was 2 heats.
Yeah, it was 2 different heats and 2 full gates. And I remember, I don't remember if you was in mine that time. I think you went out there with you with Cody.
Nope. You and I were in the same one. And the only reason why I remember that is because I looked it up when I was prepping for this. So Cody was in the first one. You and I were in the second one. I can't remember who got second. So I won. Tyler Hamrick was second, but his tire fell off. And so I don't know.
It was maybe Sean Taylor or something. I'm not sure.
Could be.
But I know I went out there and I ended up yanking the whole shot in mine.
Okay.
Or in ours.
Yeah.
And Cody had a mechanical issue in his heat race.
Okay.
So
this is Bud's. This is Bud's, right?
Bud's Creek, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
So,
yeah. So I broke too. Cody and I broke, so I have nothing to do with this one.
Okay.
But at Bud's, I thought that was your first one. You like jump onto the scene. You won that one. So go ahead and tell your story. Sorry.
Yeah.
Needed to clear that up. I was talking Birch, or no, I was talking Muddy Creek. You were talking Bud's Creek. Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry. I ended up pulling the whole shot, and I got out there, and I ended up there was this one little step up jump that I don't think not many people was jumping it and clearing it.
Okay.
And I was getting it pretty good, and I ended up winning by a pretty good little amount, like maybe 8-10 seconds or something. It was a pretty good little amount, and everybody was like, who the hell's this guy? Like, this TT guy ain't supposed to be doing this. And it was kind of cool, like coming in there and going into the second moto, and I was like, man, Cody Gibson, I don't have to beat him. And it was I was like, I just gotta, you know what I mean? We'll see what we can do, finish top 3, and I can maybe win the overall. Yeah. I come out of the gate, Sean Taylor was in front of me, and then Cody Gibson pulled the whole shot. I come out third. And we come up to that step up that I was hitting earlier that day that nobody was clearing, and it got whooped out right before it. And I ended up coming short, and I was so green behind the ears at that time, didn't know much about motocross, that whenever you come up short on a jump, you're supposed to land on the freaking rev limiter and it'll pop it back out in front of you. Well, I landed off the gas because I didn't know no better. Little did I know, because I hadn't rode that much, but it threw me over the handlebars, and I'm laying on, or luckily the sand was soft there, and it was in that bottom section. And I was like, you dummy, you just threw it away. Like, all you had to do is finish where you was, and you would have had the overall. And but I don't know. You get caught up in the moment, and you're like, I want to see if I can run with Gibson. Let's see if we can hang with him and try to beat him. And I ended up blowing it right off the rip. And I was kind of mad at myself. I don't think I come to a race for a little bit longer, or for a couple rounds or so. Okay. I just come to the ones that was within a few hours by the house.
Yeah. I remember that. I remember, I knew your name or whatever from the TT stuff and all that, but you definitely burst on the scene that day. And do you remember how freaking rough that track was? Like, I remember, and I don't know if you remember it the same way I do, but I remember like that place just being a death trap.
I loved it. I mean, I do remember it being like that, and I just loved the elevation changes and the off cameras, and I was I really liked that track and that style of track, and I liked it pretty good. And at the time, I don't think I was riding 4-wheelers much, but we was tearing up some pit bikes, and I was in pretty decent shape.
Okay.
So the roughness didn't bother me that much, and I just needed a little bit. I run out of talent.
Oh my gosh. No, it is fun to listen to you say I was literally so green. I didn't know I needed to land on the gas, even though you're out there winning, pro-am qualifiers. That's amazing. But yeah, what a memory. And it's funny for you to touch on the elevation change because, like where I'm at in Wisconsin, like we don't have much elevation change. And I remember going out there too. And just like you said, the way you're cresting hills, Budds Creek is set up really cool where, you basically are like going up the side of one hill and down the hill, the natural hill on the other side of these big jumps. And I remember being like sketched out a little bit on how big, some of the elevation really was. So it's cool that I'm glad to touch on that because the series is going back there this year, and we know that they're having the double header right with the TT National there that weekend as well, right? So that's going to be really cool.
Not sure if it's a double header for us, but I think we get the race there with you guys.
Well, like I guess that's what I meant. Yeah. That's what I meant. Yeah, in conjunction, I should have said. Yeah.
So that's what I'm gonna maybe try to. If we don't get rain or anything like that, I'm gonna try to run Pro-Am. I don't know if they still do Pro-Am on Sundays or not, but
Pro-Am Sunday.
Class that's just Sunday. I can't do it on Saturday because it'll be too. Saturdays are already hectic enough whenever we're racing TT, especially running 3 classes. But maybe I can jump in something on Sunday if they have something.
Yeah. Pro-Am is Sunday. So that would be perfect. But I did need to get your opinion on that because I think that that's the coolest thing that they're going to do that event in conjunction. What a cool thing for ATV motocross and TT in general. Cool for both sides, right? And it's going to be the place to be for anything ATV racing related that weekend this summer. That's going to be freaking awesome at Budds Creek.
Definitely going to be a cool event, and it'll be cool getting the race in front of some of them guys. Like, a lot of them guys don't watch TT or get to see it much, so it'll be cool to be able to race in front of them guys and let them see kind of what our stuff's about, and hopefully they like it. Maybe they might want to come try it out.
Yeah. I think a lot of guys, a couple years ago, right at the 50th at Astabula, I think a lot of guys came out and saw that, and I think we're super impressed then too. So yeah, that was awesome. As the #1 podcast in ATV racing, it's only right that we partner with the industry leaders in suspension tuning. Insert Impact Solutions. Impact Solutions is a full-service ATV and side-by-side suspension center specializing in the revalving and service of your motocross and off-road suspension. With over 25 years of elite-level knowledge, experience, and testing with riders of all ages and ability levels, Jay Goebel and the Impact crew strive to exceed clients' expectations for service and setup. Impact Solutions is the official Elka Suspension Service Center of the United States, offering unmatched product knowledge and experience. Whether you're in need of service, parts, warranty, sales, or technical support, Impact Solutions has you covered. Head over to impactsolutionsatv.com or give them a call today.
We interrupt this program for a special news bulletin.
The following message is brought to you by Manscaped.com. The Manscaped engineering team has outdone themselves this time, creating the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, now available for purchase in the US and Canada. Join over 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped, an official sponsor of the Digging Deep ATVMX podcast, with this exclusive offer of 20% off and free worldwide shipping with code DiggingDeep20 at Manscaped.com. I'm one of the first people to try the new 4.0 and I am blown away. This thing is next level. What sets this trimmer apart from all the rest? The Lawnmower 4.0 gives you the ability to turn the LED spotlight on and off when needed for a more precise shave. It features a new multi-functioning on-off switch with travel lock for those of us who like to travel. And my favorite, the new trimmer allows you to customize your trim with 4 different guard lengths, an upgrade from its predecessor that only featured 2. If you're listening, you know that good tools are a must, so wait no more to get the best tools for the job. Get 20% off and free shipping with code DiggingDeep20 at Manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at Manscaped.com by using code DiggingDeep20.
Hey everyone, this is Larry Mills, president of DP Brakes North America and proud partner of the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast. We at DP Brakes are a longtime supporter of ATV racing and the world leader in sintered brake technology, dominating the ATV world for decades by supporting the best four-wheeled racers on the planet. This year's lineup includes Jeff Rastrelli, Mark Baldwin and Baldwin Motorsports, Ford Brothers Racing, Nick Janusa, and many more, including Mr. Digging Deep himself, Cody Jansen. Plus all the top 17 GNCC pros such as 7-time champion Walker Fowler, Bryson Neal, Hunter Hart, Cole Richardson, Jared McClure, Adam McGill, and previous champion Chris Borich. These top riders continue to appreciate the high performance and impressive durability that their DP brakes have to offer, products that ultimately help place them on top of the podium week after week. DP brakes are available through www.dp-brakes.com, or you can purchase them through your local Parts Unlimited stocking dealer, or you can even message us, myself, Larry Mills, or DP Brakes on Instagram or Facebook. And if you have any questions about product or sponsorship support, please ask us. We are waiting for you. Join the best ATV riders in the world equipped with DP Brakes, and have a great year, everyone.
Nearing 2 decades into the brand's existence, Factory 43 is back and better than ever, continuing to make major waves in the ATV world. For the 3rd consecutive season, Factory 43 is the official aluminum parts choice of the Phoenix Racing ATV team, providing their state-of-the-art Evo Nerf bars, MX-style front bumpers, and grab bars for 2-time champ Joel Hetrick. If you're in the market to upgrade your Nerf bars, bumpers, or grab bars, head over to factory43atv.com to see their full line of industry-leading products available for all makes and models. Head over to factory43atv.com today.
Success in the ATV MX world is similar to what creates financial success as well. The right people, the right advice, and more importantly, hard work and the benefit of an ongoing relationship as situations change and adversity is experienced. Do you have the right financial advisor to help you reach your goals? Heuvos Financial Group can create a personalized, goal-based plan to help your family prepare for whatever life brings. Call me, Scott Heumauer, at Heumauer Financial Group, a private wealth advisory practice of Ameriprise Financial Services, at 920-338-8150. That's 920-338-8150. Offices located in beautiful De Pere, Wisconsin, with registrations and clients nationwide.
So 2013 was big for you, Brad. You went pro in the motocross side of things at that point in 2013, and you also won 2 Pro-Am overalls that year as well. So the previous year you won some motos in Pro-Am. Now you're putting it together for overalls in 2013. You won at Balances and Birch Creek, and that had to be memorable for you. Obviously, winning races on the motocross side, being that you were pretty new to it, but also, I mean, those classes were freaking stacked as well.
Yeah, I remember it was, I think the first one I won was balance, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yep.
It was the last time they had the balance race. We come out there and I remember getting in pro class and that day, and we went out there for first qualifying, and my bike wouldn't run, or it would run, but it was cutting out. So I didn't never get I had to go back and fix my bike. And of course, it's just me and my wife. We're the only ones going to the race. It ain't like we got a team to go, hey, fix this. We're going back, and I'm trying to figure it out. And we ended up figuring it out right before the second qualifier. It dumped rain, poured down rain. And a couple people went out there in the rain to try it out, I guess, to get ready for the rain, because it was going to be a mud moto.
Yeah.
And I never got a fast lap in. And I think at that time, I think that weekend we had 24 or 23 something entries, and I didn't even qualify for the pro class, and I was so pissed. I especially when the race gets going, and I'm watching some of the guys, and I'm like, man, I knew where I should be. I feel like I should be inside top 10, and I'm sitting here on the sidelines watching it, and I was just so pissed off. And you go all that way and you don't even qualify, and it was out of my control, or maybe it wasn't. It needed to sharpen up my mechanical skills there, but so I was really aggravated. I didn't sleep much that night, and come out the next morning, and think for the Pro-Am, of course I got more rest than the other guys the day before.
Right. You were fresh.
So we go out there, and it was still muddy. It was muddy as crap, but I think it stopped raining, and a few of us, me being one of them, we made a mistake by putting big tires on, and I did decent on the whole shot and come out. I think I finished like 5th that moto, the first moto.
Okay.
And I was really, the bike was terrible. It was way out of what it needed to be, and we ended up going to small tires for the second moto, and I think I got like a 12th or so place, like mid back of the pack kind of start, and I don't remember where you was at there or who all was in front of me, but all the heavy hitters, all the y'all fast guys were up in front of me. And I just remember like start picking my way through, and I'm like, what the heck's going on? I'm like, I just made my way up through there, and it was so, I don't know, it was just awesome being able to pick my way up through there, and it finally and then I get over there. I won the moto, and I got tired at the end. And I remember Duck at the last lap. He was pushing me, and I was just all I could do. I was palming the throttle, just trying to get through it because I was so tired at that point. And
Yeah.
we ended up winning the moto, and then we come to the podium. I was like, maybe I got third. I didn't have a clue what I got, and I guess just the way everything. I think Kyle Fix he won the first moto and got fifth that moto, and then Duck got, I don't know, he got a 4 and a 2 or something, maybe. I can't remember exactly, but
okay.
They was like, you won, and I was like, what? How? But it was a really cool, this coming from sitting on the sideline on Saturday to winning the Pro-Am race on Sunday, and it was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. And touching on how stacked that class was too. I know I referenced that before, but I'll give you a couple names here. So Musig, Hagerson, Sean Taylor, Janusa, Hamrick, Sellers, Duck Lloyd, who you mentioned, Kyle Fix, Mosier, Rastrelli, Detling, and more. Like, what a year that was. And then for you to go out there, you're dabbling in the pro class a little bit, like you said, you're winning a couple, races in Pro-Am. And that was a really cool era because I don't have the number in front of me, but there was like 4 or 5 or 6 overall winners that year in those classes. And that made that really fun. Like, you truly didn't know who was going to win or who was going to be on the podium. And man, what a fun time that was. Yeah,
it really was. It was really cool. It was like Supercross is right now. You don't know who's going to win and who's going to be on the podium. It was really cool.
Yeah. What a cool era. So that's 2013. So what is the TT kind of what is your TT focus, like at that point? Are you fully in the TT thing and you're doing moto on the side? Because then after that, it looks like you really start to the focus really shifted to TT after 2013. So what was that like leading up to that point?
I can't remember exactly. I think 13 was whenever the AMA was still going on, and I was trying to run motocross and TT, and the TT guys would not work with the motocross schedule, and we kind of butted heads a little bit on that because I was like, all these guys, you got Harold that used to race both, and I mean, you had some other motocross guys that wanted to race TT, and we kind of butted heads on that, and I may or may not have made a couple of them mad, the promoters there at the, but that was whenever I had to make a decision that year, and I think we ended up just going to some motocross races and just racing the TT races.
Got it.
And then that 14 year was the same thing. They wouldn't do anything with the schedule, so we just focused on TT. I don't even know if I went to any motocross in 14 or not. I can't really remember.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, you did. So on the moto side in 2014, you were impressive 7th in pro and 4th in Pro-Am at Muddy Creek in 2014. I think you raced maybe just a race or two at the beginning of that season, at the very beginning. And then, that was the last we'd see of you for a while. So I didn't know at first. I'm like, man, did he get hurt? And then I'm like, oh no. I could tell by kind of looking at, how you did on the TT side, that's when, you kind of went fully TT starting there. But to walk away from the moto stuff, like I said, with your best finish in the pro class, 7th and the moto side and 4th in Pro-Am, to have that be kind of, where it ended, man, like, it could have been a really good season moto side too. And you just decided to go TT racing.
Yeah. I think I was doing decent in the points for a little bit in the motocross. And I just, and then I quit coming to the races. I don't know if I think I was second or something first couple rounds or whatever.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
And still had a chance at winning the championship, but then we had to decide to go to that. And I did get hurt one of them years. I can't remember if it was 13 at the end of 13, because I think we went out to was it Sunset Ridge, and a guy cross jumped me in the Pro-Am class, and I ended up I had 2 compression fractures in my back. So, then that next year, it may have been the end of 13, because that next year, I think I just raced. I remember going into the TT still kind of questionable if I should ride or not. So
Got Got it. Yeah, I thought I remembered you getting hurt there
Yeah.
in one of those years. So yeah, then after that, Brad, 2014 kind of on, seemed like, TT was front and center. And was that like, obviously it was, that was your bread and butter. So it's probably, I was going to ask you if it was easy to focus on TT over everything else at that point, but did like TT become a little easier being that, that was the one thing you were focusing on, whether it was your budget or your machines or whatever? I'm assuming, focusing on one discipline had to make, your job as a racer and a team manager, basically, is what you're doing when it's your own program, had to make that at least a little bit easier, I would think.
Yeah, it made it easier. It was just a lot. It was a lot to do motocross. And I didn't like the fact of, I think yes, after I went and played in motocross, the pro class, I seen I could win. I think I won a couple overalls, and in the pro-am and in the pro class was just a different level.
Yeah.
It was different. I felt like I had the ability to do it, but I couldn't focus on with what I had going on working, and I didn't have a family that's involved in the industry. I didn't have a rich dad or nothing like that. It was just kind of do what you can to go out there and do it. And I just couldn't afford to train like I needed to. And I didn't like finishing seventh whenever I felt like I could finish third.
Right. Well, and
that's where I was at. And it kind of just, I guess it was bad for me to go to pro because I wasn't able to dedicate myself to what I needed to do to run that speed and at that level. So I just got burned out on it, or not really burned out. I just knew that I couldn't do it without training, and couldn't do it. So
yeah, I mean, it's a cool thing
on TT.
It's a cool thing to have done. I'm assuming, right? Like if you wouldn't have ever went out there and kind of saw how you stacked up or whatever, I feel like that would have been a box you wished you would have checked. At the same time, I know exactly what you're saying, like without doing more, to finish sixth or seventh or whatever it is, because that's, where my best finish is too in the pro class, unless like it's just, I don't know how to say it, but like that's as high as you're going to get, unless it's all day, everyday job, which is just that's a very tough thing to do. So, I've told people on this show and off this show that that's a really tough pill to swallow when, sixth or seventh or eighth or whatever, like to you guys and to your team or whatever, like, that's basically like winning the pro class, yet the outside world doesn't even see it. It's like it never even happened. It doesn't matter. Nobody's focused on it. Nobody knows it happened. That's a really, really tough place to be in. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And honestly, it's something I like to touch on, because now when you see some of those guys who, maybe a lot of times they're, ninth or 10th and they finish sixth or seventh, I really try to shout them out, because like, that's a big feat. You're going against guys that wake up in the morning, that's their only focus is racing ATVs. And that's tough.
It really is. And finishing top 10 is really an accomplishment. Them guys are hauling ass, and they're making it happen. And they're really got a lot of talent. I ain't taking nothing away from them. And because I mean, I was right there and in that mix too, but them to run that whole nother level it just takes that extra effort, and I wasn't able to give it. So
yeah, it's gnarly.
I just kind of bowed down and focused on making a living and racing, still being able to do what I love to do with the TT world. So
heck yeah, man, I would have done the exact same thing. I've often thought, and I know I've said this to people, that I feel like if I would have been from a different maybe area of the country or whatever, where I could have done what you did, like I don't know if maybe I go TT racing as I get a little older. It's just not something that necessarily was something we could do here necessarily. So but man, like then, so getting back to your story, that's when you really went on a run, when you kind of dedicated yourself fully to TT there. You raced a few motocross nationals in 16, 1 in 17, but that's while you were piling up a number of pro NE EDT championships in 2018, pro championships in 2018 and 16, I think, pro-am titles in 16, 17, 18, I think. So, better than me, but that was a stretch there where you really seemed to cement yourself as, the guy to beat in ATV TT racing here in the US. And, man, that's gotta be a pretty fun stretch to think back on, because, man, like every weekend it was when the race reports came out, it was Brad Riley. Every single weekend, it was weird if, for some reason there was a stray one where maybe you didn't win. It was weird. So what a run that was for you.
Yeah, it's been a we've had a lot of fun. I couldn't tell you how many races. I'd love to know how many races I've entered over the years, and how many wins and all that good stuff. But we went pretty hard for a long time, and that's what everybody keeps saying. My buddies and stuff that they'll come to the ones that are close by. They're like, how much longer are you going to run with them guys? I was like, I don't really know. I mean, I'm still running the speed, and I'm not always the fastest guy, but I'm still so half the time I'm still the fastest guy, and I'm going out there and making it happen, still getting wins and stuff. I was like,
why would I
stop?
Why would I stop?
I'm still making a little money doing it, and it's paying for itself. So why not?
Yeah, I love that. That's what it's all about. Like you said before, to do what you love to do, to still have the ability, at 36 or 37 or wherever you said you are, to still have the ability.
36 now.
Yeah, to have the ability to do what you love to do. That doesn't get any better than that.
Be 37 this race season come March.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So that kind of gets us to 2019. So that's the next thing I want to touch on, Brad. I've been chomping at the bit to ask you this question about this Daytona situation, because I think 2019 was the first year of the Daytona being a pro only event. You show up to race the ATV Supercross at Daytona International Speedway, and then things didn't go according to plan from there. So tell me what happened there, because there's the story of people thinking you're like jumping from one single to the next single, some big massive jump or something. So other people say that your throttle's stuck. So tell me this story. Tell me about that.
No, I was coming around there, and I got some sketchy jumps at the house that's kind of like that, and I was basically like that. The jump right before I let off of it, or let off the brakes, and just kind of flat landed. And I was like, man, if you can jump that, you can probably make up a second and a half. And if nobody jumped, if I was like, there's a lot to gain right there.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that sketchy. And I come around there, and I wasn't trying to jump it this time. I come through there, and I just didn't hit the brakes. I just coasted it like I did before, and just by no throttle, no brakes or nothing, just pulling in the clutch, I cased that thing so hard. I probably should have hit ejectocito there, but I landed, and really, if I wouldn't have got hurt, if I shattered my heel, if I wouldn't have got hurt, I would have went right back out there and jumped it, because I give it no throttle. Because it was one of them things where you had to slam on brakes and stay down, and I was just sizing up how the lift of the thing was, and I just had so much speed come more than I thought, and it would have been easy. Like I said, if I wouldn't have got hurt, I would have went right back out there, and I'd have put some new wheels on the bike, and because I bent the wheels on it and everything. It was pretty bad, but I would have went right back out there and jumped it. No, hands down, I would have went out there and done it. But yeah, that was really the only time that I was in the best shape that year. That was the only time that I got to train, but I did wreck about 3 weeks before, and I was coming into there not being able to ride. I had broken ribs. So it was, I don't know if you ever broke ribs, but it's tough to ride motocross.
Yeah.
So the last week and a half, 2 weeks, I wasn't able to ride and going into Daytona, but I was in good shape. I was training best I was ever been. So I was pretty pumped up about it. And then I go out there and goon it. And I remember it really sucked. I was so aggravated. I had a guy that helps me out a lot, Brian Robertson, Element 44. He come down and was helping me out that weekend. And it was like he just got there, and it was like, all right, it's time to go home. He ended up helping me drive home, and I felt bad for anybody that was involved in the program, and all the effort that I put in and we put into it. And I just go out there and go about 3 or 4 laps, and like, you idiot.
Yeah. So I remember the story. That's about how I thought it was going to go. I remember somebody telling me that they thought that, you didn't, mean to jump it or something. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure he meant to jump it. I'm pretty sure like he was sizing it up. Like you weren't trying to clear it then, but
yeah, I wasn't trying to clear it, but I was sizing it up. I really was. And it actually shot me way further than I thought it would. And
Sure.
it was one of them, I don't know, I'd love to take it back and have
woulda,
that back.
coulda, shoulda. Yeah.
Yeah.
You would have loved to been I would have loved the story. I tell people, I always cheer for stories now, especially the way that we're covering the sport here with the show. And to have the TT guy be the one that comes out and jumps this thing would have been an awesome story.
It would have been cool because I felt really good. The track was cool. It was really cool that year. And I felt really good out there. And it was kind of the second time I rode in about 2.5 weeks because of my rib or something like that. And I felt good. I really did. And I went out there and done that. I was pissed. And then I was like, well, because that year I was just going to race motocross. I wasn't going to race TT. And I ended up, I said, well, we're racing TT this year. And I remember going to the first race in Busco Beach. I was still on a knee scooter.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. I had a knee scooter. Wasn't supposed to be putting no pressure on it. And
yeah.
We went out there and we had one lane. They had an option lane. One was a smooth one. One had 2 little rollers in it. And I was like, I don't care how much slower it is. I'm going to the smooth one every time.
Okay.
And then we went out there for the first. I ended up winning my heat race. And it was all I could do to get a boot on. Once I put my boot on for the day, I left it on because I couldn't take it back off.
Right.
So it was like, and I'm rolling around the pits on a knee scooter. Couldn't put no weight on it. We went out there. I won my heat race. And the first main, I took the smooth line. I come out second off the whole shot.
Okay.
First lap, I took the smooth lane, and they didn't water the smooth lane as good as they needed to.
Okay.
The jump lane was like 5 bike lengths faster, and I was like, I'm not doing that again. So the whole day I was like, I'm not jumping that. I don't want to destroy my foot.
Yep.
As soon as I done that, and that guy got me on the main event by 6 bike lengths, and I was lucky to still be in second. I was like,
gotta do it.
I guess I went in tunnel vision. I was like, I got to win this race. And I ended up jumping over there, and I ended up winning the race. And
nice.
And it was pretty, it was pretty tough race to race. And I was so wore out afterwards because I couldn't put as much weight on that one leg. And it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on that. So I'm glad that you brought it up, because for those of you, the listeners that don't have experience with that, I mean, a broken heel is about as bad a structural injury as a person can have. That is such a major injury. So I wondered that. I remembered the story, and I don't remember if it was Kenny Marco telling me or somebody back then telling me, like, he had, needed help to get on his quad. Like, he wasn't supposed to be walking, all these things. And then going out there and, so my question was, how much tougher did that make that season? Obviously, now you said you weren't even necessarily planning on going TT racing. Then to know that you go on to win 3 titles, that year, Brad, man, what a story that is.
Them first 2 rounds were hell for sure. I especially that first one. It was, I think I ended up winning 2 out of the 3 main events and getting on the podium on the other one. I can't remember exactly I do remember winning that first one, but I don't remember the results I know I was on the podium all three races that round, and it got better as the race, I had like a month in between for the next race. So I was able to walk the next round, but still hurting. And as far as worse injuries, that I would say I've had I've snapped both Achilles tendons also, and they was pretty rough.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So the heel, separate from Achilles injuries, both of those are about as bad as it gets. So you have experience there, pal. Jeez.
Oh yeah. I guess I got some weak feet or something. I don't know. I didn't get blessed with good feet.
Oh my gosh.
Achilles tendons, because I've snapped both of them.
Jeez. Yeah. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. Just like the sport of ATV motocross as a whole, our Digging Deep community is brought together by the love for racing that we all share. Our sport is compiled of many great people, and leading that charge is the Launderville family at Launderville Steel Enterprises and Concrete Supply. This racing-owned family business is a steel and concrete supplier serving the entire United States. Launderville Steel is a full-service steel supplier of new and surplus steel, aluminum, and stainless steel products, headlined by their 4130 chromoly tubing and plate used in the building of chassis for ATVs and UTVs, off-road truck racing, late model dirt and pro tractor pulling series, drag racing, and more. Launderville Steel loves their racing just as much as we do, but don't forget about their concrete division as well. With over 25 years of experience, the concrete division can supply everything you need to complete your next business or personal project. Their central Midwest location enables LSE to easily serve customers across the United States. For a quote, additional info, answers to more of your questions, or to talk a little racing, head over to laundervillesteel.com or give them a call today. We are proud to be partnered with yet another racer-owned company. Thank you, Launderville Steel Enterprises and Concrete Supply. Here at Digging Deep, we have an obvious passion for ATVs and pridefully enjoy sharing the sport's history. Since 2019, when the podcast was born, we've been working to partner with individuals who share our passion, but one man and his vision had been missing from our partnership group. Until now. When it comes to the sport's history, the hallowed grounds of Binky's Forever ATC Museum has it all. Binky Tapscott's mind-blowing collection of 3- and 4-wheelers has preserved history by spanning all makes and models, from Honda 3-wheelers in chronological order to unique builds that shaped ATV racing as we know it, like Doug Gust's iconic DRZ-powered hybrid thumper and everything in between. There's no denying Binky's passion, a passion that we certainly relate to here at Digging Deep. Binky's goal is to share his amazing collection with fellow enthusiasts by making his prized possessions accessible to the public via scheduled visits. Follow Forever ATC Museum on Facebook and watch foreveratc.com for further updates on possibly getting a chance to see Binky's Forever ATC Museum for yourself. We are proud to welcome Binky's Forever ATC Museum to the Digging Deep family. Evans Waterless Power Sports Coolant. The best power sports coolant on the market, Evans prevents overheating and boilover, so you need not worry about harming your engine or suffering a premature end to your ride no matter what the conditions. Designed for use in ATVs, UTVs, motorcycles, and other power sports equipment, when conditions are at their worst, Evans is at its best. Upgrade to Evans now to avoid overheating and boilover next time you hit the track or trail. Use discount code DIGGINGDEEP20 at checkout to save at evanscoolant.com. Thanks for listening, and remember to support our partners. Now back to the show. So fill me in on kind of, what's happened in recent years here, buddy, because, we saw you had a couple ATV motocross races and Pro-Am and 25 plus. I think that was 2020. Back in 2020, we know that you've won a couple more TT titles at this point, or more than a couple in recent years. You did the Heuvos Pro Invitational recently. So seems to me like you've been out here living your best life. Like you said, the racing's kind of paying for itself. I love how you run it like a business. You do such a great job advertising and all the stuff that you do with your racing. It's such a buttoned up deal. I love that. Love watching the way you go about your business, and you've really carved out a niche for yourself, pal. It sure seems like, man, so many people could learn by trying to model their racing after yours. You've really done a great job, pal.
Appreciate it, man. Yeah, it's been a journey. The last couple of years, we've been let's see, we went to motocross race at what is that? South of the border. Yeah, I couldn't think of it. Sorry, that's what I was stumped on there.
Okay.
But south of the border, we went there, and I signed up for 25 plus, and then Pro-Am, I think.
Yep, you did.
And the only reason I signed up, I didn't really have no business in Pro-Am because I hadn't rode at all motocross. I just showed up and jumped on the bike and let's go and sign up for 25 plus. There was a couple fast guys in there too that really give me a fit. And then I think the Pro-Am race was like 2 races after. There was 1 race in between the two, so I basically had to go straight back up to the line, and I only had about a lap and a half, 2 laps in me after running 1 moto and then the Pro-Am. And I think one race I come out like 5th and I made it up to 3rd, and then I was gassed out. I was like immediately like, y'all go ahead, I'll get out of the way. Y'all do y'all's thing. I belong here for about 30 seconds, and now I don't belong here. Y'all don't let me get in y'all's way. I just kind of moved over, let people go, and bowed down. Y'all do y'all's thing.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. But yeah, I really like that track. I really like South of the Border. I didn't make it down there in 2020. I had already wrapped up the title there in 25 plus. And I'm like, I'm not going to drive 19 or 20 hours, whatever it is, to get down there. I remember it being like 2,500 miles or something round trip. And then you ended up being there, and I was like, man, that would have been fun. But
yeah, that's the same. I was looking forward to racing against you, because I think you had a pretty solid year, pretty tough, good year.
And actually, at the beginning of the season, you were at Aonia, right? You were at Aonia, but then you must have had a bike problem or something. Because I remember thinking to myself, like, I knew Mitch was going to be good, Mitch Reynolds, and I knew you were going to be good. So I'm like, okay, I got these TT guys that I'm going to have to race against. And then I remember something must have happened to you, like you were a non-factor all weekend.
No, it was a terrible weekend. We come out there for, as far as mechanical issues. We come out there to run the stock pro class, which is a new class, and we was kind of pumped up about it. I had that.
You were on a KTM, exactly. Yeah.
Yes, and I went out there and they ended up stripping the rear spindle out on one side, and then the transmission went out, and the bike was ruined. And then I go out there and the with you guys, and I think we was a lap into it or 2 laps into it, and I don't know if we dropped the valve or something, but it grenaded we grenaded the motor we had, and it was the end of the day there, and it was just like
weekend to forget there.
Oh, it was terrible, and I was looking forward to it too, because I always liked that track, and
it
was pretty cool. And with, like you said, with you and Mitch and stuff, I was really, I think it would have been a good fun race between us three, and it would have been really fun to get up there and mix it up with you guys.
Yeah, agreed, for sure. That was a fun year, and it's fun you're still doing the TT thing at the fastest level that there is, but on the motocross side, it's been fun like to race the vet classes now. As much as a cop-out answer as that might sound like, because like you said already, the pro class is so fast, pro-am is so fast. Like, I've had a ton of fun the last couple of years running pro sport, so the races aren't quite as long as pro-am, so you run 6 laps or whatever it is and kind of mix around with these kids, and that's a lot of fun. But racing the vet classes, where it's it's nothing but fun, like I'm out there just having a blast and no pressure necessarily, and not so hard on my stuff and whatever, man. Like, it's been so much fun. So, man, maybe we can get together and do this a little bit more going forward. But I want to touch on the TT stuff as we kind of throttle this thing down here. I said I was going to ask you about kind of the state of TT racing, so fill me in on the state of TT ATV racing in America today, pal. I know that there's a few seemingly good notable series out there. You talked about the one down by you. That's obviously the premier one, like you said, and to me seems like like TT's gained momentum in recent years. So kind of fill me in on that.
Yeah, TT's really doing good. I don't know how it compares as far as rider count in the motocross versus the TT, but I think it's from what I heard, I think it's pretty close.
Okay.
But
awesome.
The Northeast Extreme Dirt Track Series, we've been really getting, especially some of the one-off, or just like Ashtabula, it's always huge. I think that one year we had like 900 entries or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's always the bigger one, but I think we're getting anywhere from somewhere around 400 riders, if I ain't mistaken.
Yep.
And I don't know what the motocross is. I really don't have a clue. I hadn't looked into it, but and then we got our local series that does really pretty good, and then you got the Midwest series. I think they got a pretty decent series out there too.
Yeah, it seems like it.
So it kind of it makes it where them guys don't have to travel as much, and we don't have to travel as much. We're just blessed with the better tracks, though.
Yeah, that's, like I said, some of those tracks down by you look so badass. I could watch those videos for days.
Oh, this is cool. There was a couple of GoPro videos that was put up this past year. I think maybe it was Aaron Medlin.
I think so.
His helmet cam. Yeah, that was some really cool GoPro footage. It was really good racing.
Yeah. It's so awesome to see you guys dicing it up. And the other cool thing that you can see in some of those newer videos is that you for 2022, you went and blew. You added a YFZ 450R to the fleet there of yours. I was very curious. I've been curious since seeing that for the first time to ask you about what that experience has been like. So tell me about that.
It's been fun. It's been really cool. I've been wanting to do it for a couple of years, and then I seen that build that Daryl built, and we called him up, and I was like, hey man, would you be, we kind of talked a little bit about maybe buying it from him or whatever, building something similar, and asked him how he liked it. And he said, you want to come up and run ice race? And
I remember that. I remember that.
We kind of made a deal before. If I liked it, I was going to bring it home with me. And that's what I did. I went up there and raced it, and I liked it, but it just didn't have the power. It was off from what it needed to be. I think we brought it back, put it on the dyno before the chain broke and went through the cases. It had 53 horsepower.
Okay.
So we was way off because we was racing against the it's funny because buddy of mine that went with me, we went out there and I practiced or went through the first heat race, and I think I got second. And I was like, I can't wait to come back next year to redeem myself. He's like, what are you talking about? I was like, dude, I don't have a chance in hell to win this. I was like, this thing is slow compared to what I'm used to. Like them other guys had CRF hybrids, and they was just really fast. And that ice racing's kind of what you needed something fast. And but I really loved the way it handled. The handling was really good, and we brought it back. I got Dan and Lonnie and Brandon at NASA. We took it to them, and we basically redone the bike, I think twice, really. we redone the pipe. The gas tank was down low. We put the gas tank where it's supposed to be. We ended up moving it later on, putting the gas tank under the seat, and
oh wow.
And then we basically changed that thing twice throughout the year, and halfway through the year we ended up switching and putting a different motor, a newer model motor that was even a little bit better. We got the 2020, I think it's 2020 motor in there, where we had like an 18 or something. I'm not sure exactly.
Oh really? Okay.
I could be wrong.
Okay.
But and that was a little bit different, a little better. But I really love the bike. The bike handles, and before, whenever I was on a Yamaha, because I went from the Banshee to the I got a Yamaha, and everybody was telling me, you can't get no power out of that, don't get it. And then I get it, and I love the way it handles. I was just getting them first model Yamahas, them Hondas were just walking the dog on me on the straightaway, and I didn't. It took me a couple years after getting beat on the straightaway before I realized I got a Honda and to get back in the game. But now they're so fast, the four-wheeler motor and the dirt bike motor. I got the dirt bike motor in mine.
I thought so. Yeah.
And it's a beast. And even the four-wheeler motors, I got a bike with a four-wheeler motor in it too. And they're no slouch. We're used to, I was at a disadvantage on it. And now I remember getting off the Yamaha onto the Honda, and I hated that Honda. The only thing good about it was it's fast.
Yeah.
And I was like, I hate this thing. It handles like a board. It just sucked. And I was like, get me back on that Yamaha. Put this motor on that frame, and we'll be good. But we stayed with Honda for a while, and I'm glad to be back on Yamaha. I'll probably finish my years out on the Yamaha because it's a really good bike. Machine. It's hard to beat it.
Yeah,
and too, you can go buy a brand new one versus it's getting harder and harder to find these Hondas, and you're getting ragged out stuff that's just bent and broke up, and you can't really find a good bike to get now. And you can buy a brand new Yamaha, and you know what you got.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. That was the thing, I wanted to ask you about, because I know that platform is so good. At the same time, you had the Honda so figured out and such a great program for so long. I'm like, man, I think that's a testament to how good the Yamaha, particularly the chassis, is for you to have such a figured out program. It's like you could have done the status quo for the rest of the time and, still been as competitive as ever. But to know that you could make your program better by running the Yamaha, that's why I wanted to talk to you about it. And that's why it was impressive to me, like
I knew whenever I rode it on the ice, I was like, this thing handles really good. Yeah. It wasn't powerful then, but it handles really good. And I knew Dan and them at DASA, they can fix that part.
Of course.
So we once I rode it, I was like, I love it. I mean, I rode it, and it's funny because we got it ready, and I went down to practice on it, and something, I can't remember exactly, something broke on it. I got one lap of practice on it, and it broke. and we got it fixed, last minute, like the week of the first race. And
Okay.
we go out there for the first race. And at that point, I wasn't 100% sure I was going to race it, because I didn't really know what I had, because I hadn't got to practice on it, nothing. So that was basically the first race. First round one was the first time I got to ride the bike and actually test it like it needed to be. And right off the rip, I think I come out there and won the first heat race, and I was in love with it then. And I was like, this thing's pretty bad to the bone.
Yeah. Well, I remember you posting, something like that, like a picture of the all red Honda and a picture of the all blue.
Yeah,
Yamaha.
I done a teaser with this guy right here behind me. I had stuff, parts laying around to redo that Honda, and I was like, I'm gonna throw this stuff on there and kind of just throw everybody off, because that's
I loved
one thing. It's always fun just to kind of the mess, keep people guessing until the first round, and so I threw that out like the day of going down there, and like check out the new ride for this year, and then we get there, and I think I said something like got some more news to come or something like that, just kind of get them guessing. And we showed up, and I remember rolling it out of the trailer, and everybody was like, what? They had to do a double take, and it was cool. And then Chucky done the same thing. He didn't tell nobody, and he shows up on a Yamaha too. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And we both did really good. He had the 4-wheeler motor on his, and we both went out there and was running 1 and 2 in several of the heat races and mains. So it's pretty cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. I knew that was going to be a good move for your program, and that was fun to see. So as we kind of, wind down here, we want to look to the future. So as we look to the future in 2023 and beyond, pal, what does your racing future have in store? What do you got planned?
We're going to race. We're going to do what we did, try to repeat what we did last year. We're just going to run the Northeast Extreme Dirt Track Series. We might, like I said, we might run a motocross race, that Butts Creek, but maybe show up at some of the other one. My stepson, he's riding too, and he's moving up to the Pro-Am class this year too. Okay. He's going to be running with me. So I told him that I wasn't, he's like, we joke around, and he's like, when are you going to quit? You better not quit before I can get on the podium. I was like, I'm not going to quit till we get on the podium together. So that's the goal, is us standing on the podium together. And awesome. He's 16 now, and he won the A class and the semi-pro class last year.
Okay.
So, and he's a little guy. He don't weigh but about, I told him he don't stand a chance till he gets about 140. Right now he weighs 95 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
He'll get mad at me if I don't correct that. He weighs 102.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, the quad doesn't even know he's on it. Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
He rips the whole shots on that thing.
I'm sure he does.
I don't even think they got to give him what they do give him, but they give him a rocket ship, and he yanks the crap out of hole shots, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome to share that with him too. Brad is the coolest thing.
It's going to be a fun, interesting year, and I told him coming into this year, if he finishes like 6th, 7th, consider that a win. Don't get discouraged, but he knows he's going to be tickled to death with the top 10.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So as we kind of tie a bow on things here, we wrap up things here, Brad. So you've raced countless amount of legends, countless amount of races. Like I said, you've raced a countless amount of legends in so many different disciplines of racing. So do you have, if I were to ask you a favorite battle, a favorite race, a favorite track, a favorite rival to race with, anything like that, give me anything you got there, anything that comes to mind when I first propose that question to you.
I think probably it's hard to say. I mean, me and Chucky's had a lot of good battles throughout the years. He's been a really good competitor and too respectful rider out on the track, and
sure,
and that means a lot too. And but I would say probably Harold Goodman. Me and him had some really good battles, especially that last full year he run. I think we went into the last race. I think I had to get off early in the year, and I was running behind him, and it knocked me off the podium because I tipped over, and I ended up coming back and finishing 4th. And that's all I could go back to remember, is that, like, all I had to do was not do that, and I would have won, but it could have, would have, should have. But I remember going in, if I won everything, we had a doubleheader in New York. If I win both of them and he gets second and then gets third in one of them, all he had to do was finish third in one of them, and I'd win the championship. But he got second. I beat him in both of them, come from behind in both of them, and passed him and beat him in both of them. And then he ended up edging me out by 2 points that year. And I was just like, it was so, but I didn't win, but that probably was like one of the most memorable, like closest battles and like rivalries we had. It was so tense that weekend. It was like I did what I needed to do. He just didn't do his part.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's awesome. And he's a legend. I mean, he's as legendary as it gets.
Oh yeah.
Especially in the TT side, right? So to be battling with a guy like that is pretty special. So last thing I got for you, you're one of the greatest to ever do it in TT, and you're an incredible moto rider as well, like we've touched on for the last nearly hour and a half. So I have to believe that moto helps you, helps make you a better TT rider, and TT helps make you a better moto rider. Do you think that's the case? And I guess, how do you outline kind of that for me?
I would think so. I mean, it helps to some of these TT tracks ain't what everybody thinks. They're like, we went to Ashtabula. It was a little rough this past year, the first A1 or Ashtabula, the first one. Mm-hmm. And some of just being able to manhandle that bike. And I feel like they both help each other out. Like, agreed. Me racing TT, I go out there and run motocross. My corner speed and ground speeds sometimes faster than some of them other guys, because that's what I'm used to. Mm-hmm. And vice versa. They're good on the rough stuff. I remember some of them guys playing in the motor or TT side from the motocross. They do good on the rough stuff and the technical stuff. And mm-hmm. That's why I like both of them. And I feel like I did decent on the motocross and really well on the TT, but I would say, yeah, it definitely helps out to run them both.
Oh, for sure. I think that, you see it in the bike control, the throttle control, and then, you especially, and this is no surprise, but man, on some of those hard pack tracks, and we used to have a little more of that in ATV motocross. We used to have a few more of those, but man, when you get to a hard pack track, Brad Riley was tough to beat, so.
Oh, I loved him. Was the Muddy Creek was always like a TT track.
And Birch Creek, right? Birch Creek too.
Birch Creek. I think I won a Pro-Am race there too. Birch Creek was pretty cool. It was like a TT track too. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. Yes. So I definitely think that those work hand in hand, but man, this has been so much fun. That's going to wrap it up for us and wrap up this conversation with Brad Riley on the Digging Deep ATVMX podcast, brought to you by Blenders Eyewear. Use discount code DiggingDeep20 at blenderseyewear.com. But Brad, man, you are a bad dude. I appreciate your time so much. This has been so much fun. And I'd love to have you on kind of during that Budds Creek kind of time, kind of going around that event there, talking about the TT side of things, maybe getting in on the motocross side of things. I think that would be a blast. So if you're down for it, let's plan on doing this again, because this has been a blast, and love to tell your story. I think it's unique. You're, like I said, one of the best, and Shane said it too, one of the best ever to do it on the TT side. Awesome motocross rider. Like I said, this has been a blast, and I would love to do it again. That'd be top of the list around that time of year for Budds Creek.
Sure. Absolutely. Love to do it again. Thanks for having me, and we'll do it again.
Awesome, man. You're the man. Thanks so much, pal. That's multi-time TT champion, multi-time, 29-time, I think he said, Brad Riley, TT champion, right here on the Digging Deep ATVMX podcast. Take care, pal. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me. See you.
I love TT racing, man. What a great conversation with a rad dude. And I don't know about you, but I am jazzed up for this Budds Creek event this summer that will feature both MX and TT racing. It's going to be a sight to see, just like old times. Major thanks to tonight's featured guest, Brad Riley. Thanks to producer Dallas Jansen, my brother, for all his hard work. Thanks to Brooke and AMA official Harv Whipple. Thanks to all of our donors. You know who you are. We appreciate you so much. Thanks to all of our partners. CST Tires. Go to shop.csttires.com today. Yamaha, thanks to Blue Crew. SSI Decals, DID Racing Chain, Namura Technologies, Bronco ATV and UTV Components, Impact Solutions, Launderville Steel Enterprises and Concrete Supply, the financial advice of the Haymauer Financial Group, Forworks Carbon, DP Brakes, Factory 43, Binky's Forever ATC Museum, Evans Waterless Power Sports Coolant, Walsh Racecraft, and Manscaped. Get 20% off and free shipping with code DIGGINGDEEP20 at manscaped.com. Support the brands that support our show, and don't forget to use those codes to save. Find it all on our website, and be sure to click that Rocky Mountain ATVMC banner for all your gear and parts needs and to help us out. And most of all, thanks to you guys for listening. Our show merchandise, including our Legends Never Die tees, the same tees that Shane Hitt himself is going to be rocking when he receives his shipment. Those items and the rest of our merchandise line are all available at shop.diggingdeepatvmx.com. So check that out. And if you're looking for another easy way to help support us, visit our website and click the Patreon or Buy Me a Coffee buttons. This allows you to set up a one-time or monthly contribution to support our efforts. And I'm really interested in doing a listener questions episode, so don't be afraid to use that voicemail line. That number is 920-569-3519. If we get enough questions, I'd love to do an episode kind of getting into those questions and topics of yours. That would be so much fun, so get on that for me. Follow the show on social media, Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast, and myself, Cody Jansen, for additional content coverage and more fun stuff throughout the off season. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and more. Wherever you find podcasts, you'll find the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast. All episodes, additional podcast providers, sponsor links, and discount codes, our show merchandise, fantasy info, and more. It can all be found on our website, diggingdeepatvmx.com, so check that out today. Be a friend, tell a friend. Please download, subscribe, rate, review, and share. And with that, for Brad Riley, Brooke Jansen, Dallas Jansen, and I'm your host, Cody Jansen. Thanks for listening to and making us the most listened to podcast in ATV racing, with more than 193,000 downloads last month in 100 total countries. Until next time, thanks for joining us in Digging Deep with the Stars of ATV Motocross. Things are crashing and burning here at the Digging Deep podcast, much like the Titanic.
Those guys were hauling ass, for real.
I remember watching Doug Gus, I don't know who it was, Steel City, running the same times Friday afternoon as James Stewart was on Sunday back then. It was mental. I've never seen quads go that fast.
Quad leaders are freaking gnarly.